Well, good morning everybody and welcome back to the channel. Oh, it's a cold one. But I have a feeling it's gonna be a beautiful one. I live in the UK, and in wintertime, for the most part, it's a wet, cold, dark, grey, damp place. But every now and again, on very rare occasions, weather patterns shift and align to create something incredible. A weather front creeps in, not a storm, but something different, something rare, a stillness so deep you can hear a pin drop. Now, as a landscape photographer, it is in these rare moments that we need to drop everything and just go. What a way to start the new year. Man, I can't believe it. I was sat at home yesterday. I've got mountains of paperwork as we approach the end of the year and I've got to file my tax returns. I'm editing videos that are due out imminently that have to go to sponsors. And then on the television in the background, I wasn't even paying attention. I was just walking past, the weather forecast was on. And I saw the headline, fog and frost. And that was it. That was all I needed. And as a landscape photographer, when you see those two words together, you've got to drop everything and go. That's exactly what I did. It's a bit of a gamble because those forecasts are rarely accurate, but I packed my bag, jumped in my van, and drove about 3 hours north into the central belt of Scotland, right into the middle of where the forecast was. And this is it, man. This is the result. It's paid off. Well guys, these conditions truly are a photographer's dream. But here's the problem. When I get conditions this good, I convince myself that they are going to disappear any minute now. Maybe a warm front will move in and the frost will melt, or a wind will blow through, shaking the trees of all that beautiful frost. So as the day begins, I struggle to enjoy my photography. I'm actually thinking, quickly get a shot, because any minute now, this is going to end. And the result of that is that my first image is just something close by and something simple that I can grab. Rather than walking and exploring and finessing a composition, I just want to get one in the can. So I start the day with something simple, yet beautifully elegant. Using a 135mm lens with a 1.7 converter, I hone in on the details of the frost on the delicate branches. Convinced that in just a few minutes' time, that frost will no longer be on those branches. Oh, how wrong I was. Honestly, nothing's easy. Nothing. It's a beautiful shot here, fantastic view, some gorgeous lights, but I just need to be as far over this way as possible. After this shot, I'm going to go back to my van and get my wellies because I'm not wearing suitable footwear. I need to be in the water, in the bogs. But yeah, I think we've just about managed to get myself in a position where we can get this shot. It's well worth the effort getting into the water because this scene is beautiful, looking down the loch, down the glen. And it's a beautiful composition, beautiful scene, but what made it extra special is we just got a little burst of light coming through in the centre of the image. It wasn't direct light, but it was a warm glow. And when you combine a warm glow with the cooler tones of the surrounding trees and all of this hoarfrost, it's just wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. So what's interesting is that this is now my second image, and with every image I take, I just get a little bit more relaxed because I have that FOMO, the sort of fear that a wind's going to blow through, all of the frost is going to drop off the trees, it's all going to melt. And that will happen probably this afternoon. But for me, I always feel this sense of urgency, which is not good for photography. You need to relax into it. And with every shot I take, and as I observe that things aren't really changing much, then I can ease into it. And hopefully my images will improve as we go through this video. We'll see. But yeah, another shot in the bag, and what we'll do now is we're going to go back to the van and get my wellies on, because as great as these boots are, I can only get so far with them. So yeah, we'll do that. Now this morning when I woke up and got out my van, I was feeling a bit tired and lazy, so I didn't go up to my roof box and get my wellies, which I should have right from the start, because I reckon I lost about 40 minutes doing this, walking back to the van, putting the wellies on, and then back to the loch. And when conditions are this good, 40 minutes is a long time. And it's quite funny because we think about the importance of our kit, our cameras and our lenses and our camera bags, but we rarely give thought to the importance of our clothing, especially our footwear. So now that I've got these big wellies on, I feel like I can explore much further and really get stuck into this beautiful landscape. Ugh. Tripod is frozen shut after being in the water. I cannot resist this boathouse that is just to my left. It's a bit of an obvious shot, but I think that's okay. But in these conditions, I don't know who could resist it. I can't resist it. Yeah, I would challenge anybody to resist this photograph, although very quickly we ran into a bit of a problem. You see, here I took my shot, and then I wanted to change to panoramic crop to see how that felt. And as you can see from this clip, yeah, by the time I'd switched settings, well, we couldn't really see anything. And you know how annoying it is when people complain about the cold weather and then summer comes around and then they complain that they're too hot. Yeah. It's too misty. Oh, I can't see the flipping boathouse. The fog's come in and it's too thick. So at the minute, it's a very ethereal shot, don't get me wrong, but it's too ethereal. Now thankfully I was able to fire off a shot before I started recording my video piece. But it was just a test shot and it wasn't perfect. There were some ducks in the foreground that were just turning into a blurry mess, and even then the mist was starting to roll in, but I just didn't think it would come in so fast. So by the time I'd set up to take this shot on video, well, the mist had completely swallowed everything up. But thankfully I had that test shot, so with a little bit of clone remove of those pesky ducks and a hair of the dehaze slider used with caution, I was actually able to get quite a nice image that I'm very pleased with. And if you're thinking, well, why didn't you just wait for the mist to clear? Well, I did, and it didn't clear. I was there for about 45 minutes and it just didn't move. So as the day goes on, I can see that things are not changing. The air is still cold, the frost is still thick, and the mist is still lingering in the air. I've got myself a few images that I'm really happy with, and I'm actually beginning to really relax into my photography. So much so, I thought I'd get a little bit experimental, try a bit of abstract photography. And there is nothing more positive than a photographer experimenting and trying something a bit different. So I just got stopped in my tracks as I was walking along the path looking through the trees. I saw the thin layer of mist just floating on the surface of the water, and it was beautiful. And then of course we have this layering of pine trees and then frost-covered birch trees on the bank of the loch. But I wasn't looking at the scene as a whole, I was actually looking at it more in the abstract. So I'm looking at the reflection of the water, where the surface of the water is ever so slightly rippled. Looks like hammered steel, and then a thin layer of mist floating over the top. So that's my shot. It's a shot of the reflection focusing on the surface of the water and trying to achieve a shutter speed where I don't lose the texture of the water, that ever so slight ripple which gives the game away, tells the viewer what they're looking at. Flip the image upside down, and that is a wonderful, wonderful winter shot. my tripod leg is frozen shut. Oh, so I'm hoping I can just get it. Oh, come on. There we go. As long as I've got something to grip onto, we're all right. All right. So, it is 5 minutes after 1 o'clock, and it's not changed, man. It hasn't changed since flipping 8 o'clock this morning. Now, as much as I would love to be out and shoot all day, comes a point where a man's got to eat. So, make myself a coffee, have some lunch, chill out for half an hour, and then we're going to get back at it. Head to the other side of the loch, probably drive the van down, check out the other end. There's another loch further on. There's basically loads more to explore. By the time I've had coffee and a lunch, we'll still have a good 2.5 hours of light. And as I mentioned, the temperature's the same, the wind is the same, the frost is the same. I just can't emphasize enough how unusual this is for this country here in the UK. Normally by now, wind would have picked up or the sun would have melted it, but we've been given a gift today. So, yeah, really appreciative. Oh, I'm looking forward to this so much. I've even got myself a mince pie. Happy New Year, everyone. Hope it's a good one. I hope it's like this every day, flipping heck. Actually, I want to talk a bit more about coming here, because I often say that, I've made a couple of videos that sort of say like F8 and be there, or F11 and be there. The idea being that the best thing you can do for your photography is to just get up and get out, and that can often be the biggest barrier. And I worked out last night when debating whether or not to come out, obviously checked the weather forecast, got very excited. And I was like, always had those doubts, thinking, it's probably not going to happen, it'll be a wasted journey, it's a long way to go. And I looked at the map, 3.5 hours from my house to here, which is a long drive, it really is. But then I thought to myself, well, what am I going to do in those 3.5 hours? What does my evening look like if I don't go? And it would have been the same, it would have been sat down for 3.5 hours, whether that's on the computer and then eating dinner and maybe watching some television or something like that, and then finally going to bed. I had no plans. Then I would have woke up in the morning, gone back to the computer and sat down for a few more hours. So I figured, well, why not just sit down in the van for 3.5 hours and drive, and then I'll wake up in the morning and I'll be here at this beautiful location, and if things go well, I'll be out all day. And it just so happens they have. So it was by far the best decision, but I did need to rationalise it. So yeah, I don't really know what I'm getting at, but my advice is always the same. If you want to go out and shoot, go out and shoot. Don't ever talk yourself out of it, because that's very easy to do. So I came down here with the idea of shooting this fence and obviously this beautiful scenery behind me and the wall of the loch where the road is, but it just didn't work. It felt completely unbalanced. And I asked myself a question, okay, well, what is it initially that I was attracted to? So tell you what, it wasn't the fence. It's not the most attractive fence I've ever seen, so definitely not that. It was the island, well, not the island, but the bit sticking out at the end, just as the road comes around. We have this sort of grouping of trees with frost on and the nice sort of pale blue milky sky behind it. That's what I was interested in. So it doesn't make sense to go super wide and try and pull everything else in. Not really, not when it didn't add to the composition. If anything, it completely took it away and confused the image. You can see it here on screen. It's a nice enough shot, but it doesn't, for me, it doesn't work at all. What's it about? I don't know. It's not very good. So I've got the 90mm on, and we're honing in on the trees there. And it's a much nicer shot, much more clean, and feels a lot more intentional. Without any shadow of a doubt, this has to be one of the greatest days of landscape photography I have ever had. I've been filming and photographing all day, and I'm running out of things to say. I'm just repeating myself. I don't want to talk through every image and the composition and my thoughts there. It seems like it can get a bit tiresome. So yeah. On this one, I'm fairly speechless. Yeah, I wish. You wish. No, this is lovely. Beautiful jetty here, this stone jetty. My first thoughts were, okay, let's get this jetty bang in the middle, bosh, straight out there to nothing. And that was the problem. It was a jetty leading out to nothing. So come to the side of the jetty, cutting across the frame, and then it almost zigzags to the trees in the distance. So the zigzag would be the trees on the horizon, the jetty, and then we have one stone off to the right-hand side. That stone is key. That gives us balance. Balance is everything. Where's the eye going? Visual flow. Can the eye move through the scene effortlessly? And in this case, I think it can. Could this be my favourite of the day? I don't know. I'll be honest with you, I've forgotten half the images I've taken. It's been that frantic. Yeah, this is beautiful. You know, yeah, you know. I'm not going to keep saying it. So if you watched last week's video, you'll have seen that I got a new printer. And as you can imagine, I was incredibly keen to give it a good run for its money. So I'm so excited to be printing these images as big as I possibly can. 2 panoramics, each one 1.5 meters long. Oh my giddy aunt. Oh, it's big. Now you may have noticed that this video is not sponsored, and that's a direction I want to take in 2025, taking on fewer sponsorships and instead backing myself. So both of these prints are going to be available as limited editions, 1 of 10. level of detail in these prints is incredible. They really are a thing of beauty, printed on 350 GSM NST bright white textured matte paper. As I've just mentioned, the print size is 1.5 meters, although the paper is a little bit larger. And these are big, but to put that into context, that's about the same size as this print here on my office wall. So when framed and hanging on a wall, it's a nice size. Now, I appreciate that not everybody has space on their wall or a big office in which they would like to hang these, so I'm also offering these at a smaller size, signed and open edition, with the print size of the panoramics being about 13 inches wide, so still a nice size. So all of those prints are now available on my website. There is a link in the description below. I also have 2 photography books available, and we're not done yet. I have a photography community, the 617 Club, that myself and Simon Baxter run. It's a fantastic group of people. We do regular meetups, weekly live streams. We get special guest photographers to give presentations. We have regular photo challenges with prizes. So if you fancy that, there's also a link to that in the description below. As always, here are the raw files alongside the edited JPEGs, so you can see exactly what I've done to these images, hopefully reassuring you that this is not AI. But in all seriousness, thank you guys so much for watching, and if you've enjoyed this video, please do give it a like and leave your comments below, and if you're not a subscriber, then subscribing is the best way to support this channel. It's a huge help to me, it's free of charge, and you'll get notified every time a new video is released. Thank you so much for your patience, and I will see you all next week.